Okay, welcome to lesson 3, learning Cornish for absolute beginners. Okay, we're going to start this session by making some declarative statements, and then I'm going to show you how to change them into questions simply by rearranging the sentence. Okay, so Grandfather Nebulous of thee, or Benjamin of thee. I am Benjamin. Benjamin of thee. Okay, so you can say whatever your name is, such and such of thee. I don't know, Tim of thee, or Wendy of thee, or Jim of thee, whatever your name is. That's how you declare who you are in Canuck. However, if I wanted to question my very sanity and ask just who I am, I would take the of thee from the end of the sentence and put it at the beginning. So, am I Benjamin? Of thee, Benjamin? Of thee, Benjamin? Benjamin of thee. I am Benjamin. Benjamin of thee. Phew, that was a close one. So you could do exactly the same. If you want to ask just who you are, you say of thee, John, or of thee, Michelle, or whatever your name happens to be. Of thee, such and such. Okay? Right, cool. I'm now going to show you how to ask you are, okay? Pardon me. So, if I wanted to ask are you, I would say Osta, you are, or you are Jessica, Osta, Jessica, are you Jessica? Osta, Jessica, okay? Or if I knew you were Jessica, I could walk straight up to you and say, Jessica Osta, you are Jessica. But obviously, you're more likely to ask than to go and declare to someone's face who they are. So, Osta, Jessica. Okay. And then Jessica might reply, Jessica Orvie. Okay. Yeah, I am Jessica. Jessica Orvie. Okay. So, when we're asking these questions, it's important to point out that in Kernuic, there's not really any words for yes or no. I mean, if you want to interject your Canuic into your daily English, then you could say, yeah, Maras, yes, thank you, or should actually be, yes, please. Yeah, Marplague, yeah, or nah, Maras, no, thank you. Okay, so yeah, Marplague, yes, please, or nah, Maras, no, thank you. But in Canuic True, you don't really ever say yes or no directly. It's more like you repeat the sentence back to them in a with positive or negative connotations attached. So, if I was to ask John, if I said, Osta, John, are you John? Then John would have two options. He could say, of John of thee, yes, I am John. Or you could say, nag of, nins of thee, John. No, I'm not John. Nag of, nins of thee, John. Okay, so those are the two different ways in which you can answer the question positively or negatively, and that's much more of an insight into how a conversation flows in Canuck. So I could ask myself, seeing as I'm looking at myself recording now, Osta, Benjamin, are you Benjamin? Benjamin of Benjamin of yeah? Okay, so, or if I'd lost my mind completely, I could say, Nagov, nins of Benjamin, I'm not Benjamin, Nagov, nins of Benjamin, okay? Nag of, nins of Benjamin, okay? So that would be the negative answer. Or, of, Benjamin of Yes, I am Benjamin. I think I'll stay as Benjamin for the rest of this lesson. Okay, right. 3 new words that you, lesson 3, 3 new words. Okay, so the first word is or, which is very simply po, okay? Po, P-O, po, okay? So that's going to be very useful for the rest of this lesson. So the word for or in Canuic is po, okay? So the next word is going to be the word for cold, which is yean, okay? Yean. I'm traveling on my yean in the sleighing in the snow because it's cold. Yean, cold, okay? And the third word is the word for hot, which is tum, Okay, tum. Yes. Maybe sounds a little bit like tomb. I'm trapped in this tomb and it's stiflingly hot. Okay, tum is the Cornish word for hot. Tum. Okay. So we can then use those words with our statements. So I could say, Yeghes ovi, I am cold. Or tum ovi, I am hot. Okay. And similarly, we can ask questions and use our answers. So, os ta Yeghes, are you cold? Nagof nins ovi Yeghes, or of Yeghes ovi. And again, the same with tum. So, os ta tum, are you hot? Nagof nins ovi tum, or of tum ovi. Okay. So that's quite useful. So that sort of gives you an insight to how questions and whatnot and statements are answered and asked in Cornish. Now we shall move on to the list of drinks because we're going to get to a conversation, and drinks are always a good way to start a conversation. Okay, so the first one is water, probably the most important one of all, water. Okay, now I've heard this pronounced in slightly different ways. It can be say door or dour. Okay, door or dour. Okay. So maybe it sounds a bit like door. Okay, I'm going out the front door and it's raining. Oh, of course. And it's wet and it's coming down and it's water. Rain is water. So going out the front door and it's raining, water, door. Okay. So that's the Cornish word for water is door or dour. Okay. Next up, I like to drink lots and lots of Korev. Okay, beer. Okay, Korev. Okay, you've probably seen St Austell Brewery, if you're in the Cornish area, do a beer called Korev. So their beer is just called beer in Cornish. Okay, so Korev is the Cornish word for beer. Then we have this next one sounds quite a lot like its English contemporary. So we have green. Okay, green, ween, wine. Okay, green. Green is wine. And then there's Dao, two major types of wine. So we got green Ruth, which is red wine, so wine red, or green Gwyn, which is white wine, so wine white. Okay. Next one, I'm sure you can guess this without me telling you what it is. It's coffee. Okay, coffee. Yeah. So that is very simple. I'm sure you can understand what that is. And probably this next one too, which is tea. Cup of tea, boy. Cup of tea there, is he? What's this? Try house. Cup of tea. Get a cup of tea. Okay, so tea. Cup of tea. Tea. Now, you might want to put this next fluid into either tea or coffee. And it is, of course, milk, which is leith. Okay, leith. Mm-hmm. So a coffee with leith. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last one out of this short list I'm teaching you today is dor, which you already know. Tum, so you already know that word as well. And then alban, which is the word for our Celtic cousins right at the top of the country. Okay, so dor tum alban is Scottish hot water, otherwise known as whiskey. Right, well, that completes our list. So let's get into the conversation I have designed for this lesson. I'm hoping that this conversation will be useful because hopefully it will be useful in the sense that you can use it with your family and friends at home or wherever you happen to be. Okay, so here's how the conversation is going to start. A vinta, would you like? A vinta, okay? So notice we have ta at the top as well when you're asking, it's like you or your, okay? A vinta, would you like? Ever Yeghes, ever is drink, ever Yeghes, so cold drink. Would you like a cold drink? Po or ever tum, or a hot drink. A vinta ever Yeghes, po ever tum, okay? Would you like a cold drink or a hot drink? Okay, very simple question. We're not going to answer yes or no because you don't do that in Cornish, but we are going to say, as a positive response, we're going to say, Mea vincer ever yean mar plague. Okay, Mea vincer, I would like, ever yean, a cold drink, mar plague, please. Okay, so let's just have a quick recap. So the person who's asking, who starts the conversation, Avinter ever yean por ever tum. Mea vincer ever yean mar plague. So, would you like a cold drink or a hot drink? I would like a cold drink, please. Okay, very simple stuff. Cool. So, the person who has received the positive outcome from their question is then going to list off the cold drinks. So, Korev, Dor, Leth, Gwyn Ruth, Gwyn Gwen, Po, Dor Tom Alban, okay, beer, water, milk, red wine, white wine, or whiskey. What a choice, eh? So, seeing as I like beer, this is how I'm going to respond. Korev yean, cold beer? Da ugenev Korev, okay? Da ugenev literally means good with me. So beer is good with me. Korev yean, da ugenev Korev. Ragov, which means for me. Mar plague, for me, please. Rag off, mar plague. Okay. So, we'll just recap this little section as well. So, Korev, Dor, Lev, Gwyn Ruth, Gwyn Gwen, Por, Dor, Tom Alban, Korev Yean, Dau Genev, Korev, Ragov, mar plague. Cold beer, yes, I like beer. For me, please. Okay, and then the person who is going to hand over the beer says, Otoma, okay, which means, here you are, Atoma. General rule of thumb in Cornish is that the second to last syllable is usually stressed. So for example, in this word, Otoma, so tom, the tom bit in the middle is stressed. Otoma, okay, here you are. And I say, Muras, thank you. And then, welcome, Osta, okay, you are welcome, Osta. And then both together you say Yegesta, which is cheers or to your good health. Yegesta. Okay, so very simple sort of conversation, but hopefully one that you can start to implement as you learn more and more Cornish. Okay, so we'll go through it once more and then I'll do it fluently. So, Avinta, would you like ever yean por ever tom? Yeah? Would you like a cold drink or a hot drink? Mea vincer, I would like ever yean mar plague. Okay, I would like a cold drink, please. Okay, and then the list comes. Korev, Dor, Leth, Gwyn, Ruth, Gwyn, Gwen, Por, Dor, Tom Alban. Okay, would you like? Is it beer, water, milk, red wine, white wine, or whiskey you're after? And of course, the Korev has piqued the interest, so Korev yean cold beer, Dau Genev Korev, Ragov mar plague. So cold beer, I like cold beer, yeah. For me, yes, please. Okay. And then Otoma, here you go, Otoma, here it is. Muras, thank you. Okay. Welcome, Osta. Welcome, Osta. You're welcome. Okay. And then both together at the end. Yegesta. Okay. Yegesta. Cheers. Okay. Right. Then I'll run through it as it would be spoken sort of thing now. Okay. So, Avinter ever yean po ever tom. Mea vincer ever yean mar plague. Korev, Dor, Leth, Gwyn, Ruth, Gwyn, Gwen, Po, Dor, Tom Alban. Korev, yean, Dau Genev, Korev, Ragov, mar plague. Otoma, Muras. Welcome, Osta. Yegesta. Okay, cool. Well, I'll write all this on the screen somewhere for you to follow along. Hopefully that's not too complicated. I'm going to have one last little bit to put in this lesson, which is 2 new words, okay, which is very useful when it comes to the hot drinks. Okay, so that's gans, which means with, and heb, which means without. Heb, okay? So, of course, we're going to ask now, I'm sure you could have guessed it with the hot drinks, the coffee in particular, or the tea, but we'll concentrate on coffee for this last little bit. We're going to ask, would you like coffee with or without milk? Okay? So, Vinta, would you like coffee, yeah, gans på heb led, with or without milk? Gans på heb led, okay? Vinta coffee, gans på heb led. Would you like coffee with or without milk? Okay, well, I think that just about wraps it up for this lesson. I'll put some links in the description below for further learning, etc. And eventually I'll get round to doing lesson number 4, or Peswar. Maybe I'll do numbers next. Who knows? Anyway, I'm glad a few people are enjoying these lessons. Keep going, keep learning Cornish because it's an amazing language. It's brilliant, improves your life, and especially, as I said in the first video, if you're from Cornwall or you're Cornish or you just love Cornwall, then learn it. I'm passing it on to my children as they grow up because I want them to have the opportunities that I never had, learning my native language. Anyway, I think that all that remains to be said is Diogenu hag Yeghes. Cheers.